All right, so buckle up for today's deep dive. We're going on kind of an unexpected journey, exploring a bit of a strange pairing at first glance, entrepreneurship and the Bible.
It might seem a little unusual, but trust me, there's real wisdom hidden in these old stories.
Exactly. Our guide today is this article. It's called Faith, Leadership, and Sacrifice. Entrepreneurial Lessons from Abraham and Isaac on Mount Moriah. I know, some of you might be thinking, okay, what does a Bible story have to do with building a business today? But stick with us. This isn't about preaching or anything like that. It's about finding those universal truths. You know, the ones that are relevant across time and context.
Yeah, you know what's so fascinating is that even though this story is ancient, like thousands of years old, it captures those raw human emotions. You know, the doubts, the uncertainty, the moments you have to just take that leap of faith. Entrepreneurs still deal with that today.
Oh, absolutely. It's like when you're staring down a big decision, maybe launching a new product or going all in on a risky venture. That feeling in your stomach, that's like the same kind of test of faith Abraham faced.
Exactly. The article actually calls it faith in the face of trial. And it really captures what it feels like to be an entrepreneur. Think about it. You pour your heart, your soul, your life savings sometimes into this vision you have, and there's no guarantee it's going to work.
And you're constantly second guessing yourself too, right? It's like, am I crazy for doing this? Should I just play it safe? The article really gets into those moments of self-doubt. You know, those questions that keep entrepreneurs up at night? I bet everyone listening can relate to that.
Absolutely. And that's what makes the parallel with Abraham so powerful. I mean, imagine being asked to sacrifice your own son.
Yeah.
Talk about a tough decision.
That's a whole other level. But, you know, if we think about it metaphorically, entrepreneurs have to make sacrifices too. Maybe it's time with family or financial security,
Right.
or even parts of their original vision that they have to let go.
Exactly. And the article, it really pushes you to ask those hard questions. Like,
Right.
what am I really willing to sacrifice for my business? Or what are my not negotiables? It's a really powerful exercise to help you define your values and understand the true cost of pursuing this entrepreneurial dream.
It really makes you think about what matters most. And that leads us to another big theme in the story, which is leadership.
Yeah.
Because Abraham, even though he's facing this impossible choice, he still has to lead his family, his people.
That's a heavy burden for sure.
And you know what strikes me is that the kind of leadership shown in this story, it's not about barking orders or being the loudest guy in the room. It's about making the tough calls. You know, sometimes unpopular ones, but you do it for the sake of a bigger vision.
You got it. It's not just about having a great idea.
Yeah.
It's about having the guts to make those difficult decisions, even when it's painful.
Yeah, and it's about thinking long term. And that takes us a little deeper than just those surface level comparisons between the story and being an entrepreneur. Because the article says that Abraham's problem, it highlights a specific kind of leadership challenge. It's a challenge that founders face all the time, choosing between what you want right now and what your vision is for the future.
Yeah, you can get so caught up in the day-to-day, chasing those quick wins.
Absolutely.
But real leadership is about thinking ahead, making decisions that are good for the company in the long run. Even if it means sacrificing something right now, it's delaying gratification. It's playing that long game.
And that's where this story of Abraham, it gives you a unique perspective. Because it's not just about making a tough choice. It's about making a tough choice that seems crazy to everyone else.
Right. If you were in Abraham's shoes, could you explain your decision to sacrifice Isaac in a way that made any sense? Probably not.
It sounds insane, but the article says that sometimes as an entrepreneur, you have to trust your gut, even if it goes against what everyone else thinks, or even what conventional wisdom says. It's about having the courage to follow that vision, even when it doesn't make sense to other people right away.
It reminds me of that Steve Jobs quote. You know, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Right.
Sometimes you have to be willing to be misunderstood, to go against the grain, to achieve something truly amazing.
So we've got this idea of faith when you're facing uncertainty, leadership when you have tough choices. But there's another part of the story that I think is really powerful. And that's this idea of submitting to a higher vision. I mean, Abraham's obedience to God, even when it didn't make sense. It's a pretty intense example.
It is, but I think we can bring that idea into the world of entrepreneurship. Without getting too religious, it's about understanding that you're not just building a business, you're building something bigger than yourself.
Like there's this sense of purpose, of mission driving you. It's not just about making money. It's about making a difference, like Steve Jobs said.
Yeah, exactly. And that sense of purpose, that higher vision, it's what keeps you going when things get tough,
Ah.
when you hit those roadblocks and challenges. Because you know it's not all about you, it's about something bigger.
The article really stresses this point about trusting the process, even when you can't see results right away. It's like
Yeah.
you've got this roadmap, this vision, but the journey is going to be full of twists and turns.
And that's where comparing it to Abraham's story gets really interesting. Think about it. He had no idea what was waiting for him on Mount Moriah. He just had to believe there was a reason, a purpose
Mhm.
behind this command that seemed impossible.
I think that's a big lesson for entrepreneurs. So much of what we do is about going into the unknown, embracing that uncertainty, and having faith that it'll lead to something meaningful.
It's like surrendering to the journey.
Mhm.
You know you can't control every outcome, but you can control how you react to each challenge.
And sometimes those detours lead to amazing breakthroughs. You're forced to change, adapt, and you find a whole new path you never would have seen.
It happens all the time.
And that brings us to the next part of the story, where things take a pretty big turn. Okay, so we've got Abraham on this journey. He's made this impossible decision, and just when you think it can't get any crazier, there's this huge plot twist.
Yeah, right at the climax of the story, just as Abraham's about to sacrifice Isaac,
Mhm.
God steps in and provides a ram instead.
Wow, talk about a last-minute save.
It's like a movie. You're on the edge of your seat, and then bam, this wholly unexpected thing changes everything.
Exactly. And that's what the article is getting at, right? Like, as entrepreneurs, we need to realize that even when things feel impossible, when you feel like you've hit a wall, a breakthrough can happen.
Yeah, it's a classic entrepreneurial roller coaster. You face all these challenges, you're second-guessing yourself, and then boom, an opportunity appears out of nowhere.
It's like when you're about to give up on launching a product and then some big influencer mentions it and your sales go through the roof.
Or you can't find funding, and then this investor you've never even talked to reaches out and offers you a deal.
It's those moments that make it all worth it, all the struggles, the sacrifices. And the article really emphasizes that. It says something like, embrace those tough times because they can lead to bigger rewards. You know, your perseverance during those difficult times, it often sets you up for success.
It's a good reminder that challenges aren't the end of the story. They're often what push you to something even better.
Right. I mean, think about some of the most successful companies. They were started during recessions, times of crisis. It forces you to be creative, you know, to come up with new solutions.
You have to innovate.
And you know what I find really interesting? The article doesn't just focus on the positive outcome, like, oh, look, a ram appeared, everything's fine. It really talks about the lessons you learn from going through tough times.
Exactly. It's not just about the happy ending. It's about how you change along the way.
Hmm.
Think about Abraham. He went through this horrible experience, but he came out of it with a stronger faith, a clearer purpose.
I think that's so important for entrepreneurs. It's not just about overcoming the problem. It's about what you learn from it, the resilience you build, the lessons. You learn all those new perspectives you gain.
Like when you think back on a hard time in your business and you realize, wow, I wouldn't be where I am today without that.
Exactly. You can't just skip over the hard parts and expect to be successful. It's the challenges, even the failures that shape you. They teach you the most valuable lessons.
And that brings us to one of the biggest takeaways from the story. I think every entrepreneur needs to hear this. The article calls it the importance of trusting the process.
Okay, break that down for us. What does that actually mean for someone running a business?
Well, it means accepting that things are rarely straightforward when you're an entrepreneur. There will be setbacks, detours, times when you just want to give up. But if you've got a strong vision, if you know your values, if you're committed to your purpose, then you have to trust that even the hardest challenges are part of something bigger.
It's like having that North Star to guide you even when it gets dark and stormy. And it's not just about having that vision, it's about believing in it even when others doubt you, even when you doubt yourself.
And that's where the story of Abraham is so powerful. He was willing to go against everything he thought. He knew everything that seemed logical because he had faith in something bigger than himself.
Wow, that's inspiring. And it takes us to the next part of the article, which explores how this story can help us understand the importance of courage and decision-making.
Right.
I mean, we've talked about tough calls and long-term vision, but there's something about this story. It's just so powerful.
Yeah, you're right. It's not just about making a choice. It's about sticking to it, even when things get really intense.
Exactly. It's like you've made the tough call,
Yeah.
but can you follow through? Can you stay focused, even when everybody thinks you're nuts?
That's where real courage comes in. It's one thing to be brave in a meeting. It's a lot harder to keep going when everything's on the line and you're full of doubt.
I see what you mean, and I think that's what this article is trying to say. It's about that strength inside you. You know, that resilience that lets you push forward, even when people are fighting you, even when you're questioning everything.
Exactly. It's about having the courage to trust your gut, even when your logical brain is yelling at you to stop.
And you know what I find fascinating? The article ties this idea of courage to something we discussed earlier, submitting to a higher vision.
Right. It's like when you're really connected to your purpose, to that bigger why, it gives you the strength to make tough choices and stick with them, even when it's hard.
Because you know it's not just about you, it's about something bigger. It's about making a difference.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to one of the most powerful ideas in the article, this idea that the entrepreneurial journey, with all its challenges and setbacks, it actually changes you.
I love that.
Like you're not just building a business, you're building yourself.
The article says that those trials and tough times,
Hmm.
the doubt, the uncertainty, they're not just things to get past. They're actually chances to grow.
It's like that saying, no pain, no gain. You have to push yourself to the limit to get stronger as an entrepreneur.
Right. And what's so cool about the Abraham story is that it shows how this growth can be spiritual too. It's not just about learning new stuff. It's about developing your character, your resilience, your faith in yourself, and your vision.
It's like going through something really hard and coming out the other side better and stronger.
I like that.
And it leads to the final thought in the article. There's this quote that really stayed with me.
Oh, yeah, tell me.
It goes, just as Abraham's trial led to a deeper understanding of his faith and purpose, your entrepreneurial journey will strengthen you in ways you can't yet imagine.
It's beautiful.
It really is. It reminds us that being an entrepreneur, it's about so much more than just having a successful business. It's about personal growth, pushing your limits, and finding out what you're truly capable of.
It's inspiring.
All on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. It's been amazing exploring these connections between an ancient story and what it means to be an entrepreneur today.
Yeah, I agree. I hope everyone listening found it as insightful as we did.
If you want to learn more, the article mentions a podcast playlist called Grow Spiritually. It sounds pretty interesting.
That could be a great resource
Yeah.
for anyone who wants to keep exploring this connection between faith and entrepreneurship.
So be sure to check that out. And as always, keep exploring, keep learning, keep pushing forward on your own journey as an entrepreneur. Until next time.